Hello everybody, good morning. Happy Saturday morning. It is Saturday, yes. Okay. So we're going to be doing a bunch of odds and ends things for Alchemortis this morning. So yeah, not much to say beyond that. Just got a bunch of random things that I need to get done. Try to make a good dent in this to-do list for today. I did end up reworking the fire status a little bit yesterday though. So I do want to spend some time reworking some of the fire related artifacts. I know that there's one for sure, but I'm not sure if is there another fire artifact? I don't think so. Maybe I need more fire related artifacts, but anyway. So like I said, odds and ends things, we're going to fix that, fix some bugs, might do some verbiage language stuff, so we'll figure it out. But before I get into that, I want to remind everyone that Alchemortis is available for wishlisting. It is a dark fantasy roguelite auto battler where you can create your own builds using alchemy. So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely give it a shot. Definitely check it out. Give it a wishlist. When I say give it a shot, I mean like there's going to be playtests available. So you could follow on Discord to be notified when playtests are live, so you can give it a shot. Also, you could support the game on Patreon. If you are a sponsor for at least 1 month, which is this top tier here, I'll send you an Alchemortis Steam key when the game launches, and your name will be listed in the in-game Alchemortis credits. So if that sounds interesting, you could check that out. And you could also purchase one of my Udemy courses. These will teach you how to build complete games in the Godot engine. So yeah, that's something that you've been interested in. Could check those out. Those are linked below. Every little bit helps me. I'm entirely self-funded, so you all buying those courses and subscribing on Patreon and all that stuff is greatly appreciated, so thank you. Hello, Clickertail. Welcome back. Good to see you. Ataxic, welcome back to you. Wooius, hello, hello. Yaucono in my cup. Puerto Rican coffee. Oh, gotcha, okay. Gotcha. Oh, welcome, Monkey Software. Hello, Blue. Welcome. Good to see you. Alrighty. So the way that I reworked fire, maybe we can go over that for a little bit here, because I need to figure out. I think I know what I want this artifact to be reworked to, but all right, so fire, what this does is now this deals 1 fire damage every 1 second, and it's reduced by 0.1 seconds for every 10 stacks. So that means that if you've got 100 stacks, it's just going to be blowing up fire. And then the fire damage increases by 1 every 8 seconds. So these are just like kind of like arbitrary numbers. You know, I can tweak those however I want and however feels good. But so the idea here is, and all the other thing I forgot to mention is that fire no longer expires. So fire is a permanent status effect that will always deal damage, and it ramps up in how fast it procs, as well as how much damage it does over time. So it's a little bit differentiated from poison because poison decays over time. But fire, you know, since it's sticking around, you can maybe get away with not applying fire as aggressively as you might want to with poison, because it's just going to be basically permanent. So if I go through here, we can see that the fire builds up. I'm going to need to change this effect because it's not just like one big burst anymore. But yeah, so the fire procs more quickly for every 10 stacks, and the damage increases every 8 seconds. You can see I almost beat that. So I don't know, like, again, these numbers are going to be tweaked, but I think fire has a pretty distinct identity now from poison. So yeah, I think that'll be interesting. We'll give it a shot, and if it doesn't work, we can always change it again, but I think it's good. The other day I saw your animation tutorial on how to use it in your game. Are you using a sub viewport for every character? No, I'm not. No. I don't have any sub viewports in this game. Well, I have one sub viewport, but that's for the Fog of War. Fog of War sub viewport. That's the only sub viewport in the game. Everything else is just straight rendering. Straight normal rendering. There's our combat board, died to Ox. And then we do all this fire damage here. Oops. Okay. Then we've got all this damage, fire damage dealt, holy damage dealt. Okay, cool. So this is working great. Now, the problem is sometimes that fade out doesn't work sometimes. Why does that happen? I will write that down as a bug. Why is that happening? That's a little bit annoying, but we'll figure it out. Anyway, we have to rework that Coals of Eternity artifact. Fire retains an additional 10 stacks after consumption, so this doesn't make any sense. So let's see. Fire increases in damage 1. Let's do 0.0 second faster. All right, so there's the Coals of Eternity. Go to my fire status. Stack damage increase interval. So this would be, let's do private int damage interval modifier. This would be artifact manager dot get artifact count by ID, artifact ID dot coals, and then times -10. Maybe I should do coals. Maybe I'll do this. Public const int fire damage interval modifier, I guess. I don't know. What is going on here? Huh? Am I just like slow this morning? What's going on? Why is this wrong? I must be slow this morning. What is going on here? What? Am I missing something? Type or namespace definition or end of file expect. What? Hold up. Oh, was I just missing that? Excuse me. Oh, and I put this in the wrong spot. Okay. I think that layout was just messing with me. Okay, we're good. We got it. Goodness. The layout was just messing with me or something. How do you pixelate it? Oh, the whole canvas is just a low resolution. So the whole game renders at 640 by 360. And then it just gets stretched to fill the window, but that is the resolution of the game. The fire doesn't expire. My rapper brain just got happy. Awesome. Hello, Junie. Welcome back. Good to see you. Snupbill, thank you for the IDR 10,000. Very much appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. With the message, Yummers. Welcome back, Snupbill. Llama Toast, hello, welcome. Look at all these Yummers. We love the Yummers. We love the Yummers. Okay, so I need to do a description. Description template parameters. Okay, goodness gracious. So fire increases in damage it should say 1 second later. Hopefully. 1 second faster. So we got this. Okay, and then the fire status, I never used this. So this would be mathf.max. Max of 1, let's do 10. Stack damage increase interval minus adjusted turn interval. Okay, does that work? Let's see. Fire status. Damage interval modifier. Nope. Damage interval modifier. Okay. So 1 plus turns elapsed minus the maximum of 1 second and... I mean, let's just make it 1. Stack damage increase interval plus damage interval modifier. So it's 8 seconds by default for every coal we have. This is already -10, so get rid of that. So every 10 turns we have, or for every coal we have, it reduces it by a second. So this will be 80 plus -20 or whatever, which will be 60. So I think that's okay. Let's build and give it a shot. Just watch your optimization vid. Excited to try the playtest. Game looks cool. Thank you, Osirian Legacy. Appreciate that. Yeah, new playtest will be coming relatively soon, I think. I hope. So yeah, we'll see how that goes, but I think it's like the game is almost ready for another playtest. I'm just fixing up some things. I was going to add 3 coals so that the fire damage increase is quite noticeable. All right, let's see what happens. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't think it's working. Oh, there's player board. Let's see. So there should be 5 1 damage ticks before it goes to 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then on the 6th one, it goes up to 2. Yeah, okay, it's working. It is working. Cool. Alrighty then. So that's great, and those will stack so that the more you get of those, the more powerful your fire will be. So fire is very much just like a... So poison is about like racking up as many stacks as possible to increase your DPS, because the way that poison works is that it does DPS, it does more DPS the more stacks you have, but also decays faster the more stacks you have. But that's fine, right? Because you're still going to squeeze more DPS out of it if you apply more stacks. So poison is a damage over time status where you're very much incentivized to like try to apply a lot of it. And then fire is more of like, you know, you don't need to put so much effort into applying a lot of fire because it stays around permanently. So you may instead choose to give yourself a lot of defensive options so that you can outlast the enemy damage while your fire is just gradually building up. So yeah, I'm hoping that's kind of the kind of play style. So poison will be more of like offensive glass cannon-y, like you might just want to put everything into doing poison damage, and then your fire is more like slow and steady wins the race, you know. And I hope that's what will happen, but we'll see. I'm learning game dev from your course on Udemy. Is another course coming for advanced level? I'm gonna be honest with you. I hope that I don't ever have to do a Udemy course again. And I know that, you know, a lot of people like my courses and I appreciate that, but like I want Alchemy Mortis to be good enough where I could just like, that's where my income comes from. That's what funds me for my next game, and then I could just focus on that. If I wanted to be a full-time Udemy instructor, I would have just done that, you know. But that's not what I want to do specifically. So I will say it's unlikely that another Udemy course is coming, but I guess it depends on how Alchemy Mortis goes and whatnot. But thank you, Alpha Osiris. We'll see, you know. We will see. Anything is possible, I suppose. Okay. I don't think I have any other artifact that scales with fire, which might be a problem, actually. Not brush, not chalice of blood, coals, draft, flame. Let's see. Yeah, definitely need more fire-oriented artifacts. I think that's the only one. So maybe we'll, if we have time, sometime maybe we'll do a fire-oriented artifact. All right, difficulty 2 modifier text is not translated properly. This is a bug that I want to fix. Hello, Ninja Link. Good morning to you. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. So if I run this scene here, all description keyword blood icon costs are increased by 25%. So why does that happen? Oh, my description keyword blood. Oh, it's not here. Okay. All right, so I think what I need is something like... So the problem is that there's no... This is putting description keyword blood. It's replacing icon blood text, which is this, with description keyword blood. But there is no description keyword blood anywhere. So what I should do is public static read only. Well, this is going to be a dictionary of string to string. Actually, I might do this a different way. Let's see. Description keywords, translation groups, description keywords. Okay. I actually have an opportunity to use my special annotation. Private const string description keyword blood. Oops. This goes like that, and then I do translation string blood, translation groups, description keywords. Okay, and then I go down here. This becomes description keyword blood. I think that should fix it. So if I build this, and then I regenerate the translations, regenerate that translation, what I should see is description keyword blood is there now in the translation file. And then if I go into the character select, hopefully it's translated now. We'll see. All blood costs are increased by 25%. There we go. Okay, so that was a little bit easier than I thought it was going to be. Just got done with my kids' soccer game. Fun times. Awesome. It's a good way to spend a Saturday morning, I suppose. I have a question. Why do people start with 2D and not 3D in game dev? I don't know if that's universally true. But I think 2D is just generally easier. For me, it's easier anyway. Making 3D games is hard from multiple different dimensions. Bam, pun. But, you know, like creating 3D environments, I think is a lot harder than creating 2D ones. It's very, very easy to make a 3D game look janky and amateurish. I mean, the same is true for a 2D game, but with a 2D game, I don't know, I feel like it's easier to get away with like simpler visuals and yeah, mostly just like simpler visuals, simpler visual presentation than a 3D game. 2D is a lot easier, less math, yeah. Was making the Udemy course was too heavy lifting for you? Well, it's not exactly like, it's not, I mean, to create a full course that's like 20 hours of video content, it's like, it probably takes like 3 weeks of full-time work. So 3 40-hour weeks to create a 20-hour video course is probably how long it takes. And you're like, oh, well, that probably doesn't sound that bad, right? It's just like having a full-time job for 3 weeks. And it's like, but the problem is the overwhelming majority of that time is spent doing really, really, really mind-numbingly tedious stuff. Like, so recording the lessons is fine. Recording the lessons is fun because, you know, I get to instruct and teach through that. But then the problem is I need to bring that into my editing program and go through and watch back every single minute of the video and make sure that I'm explaining things correctly, that there's continuity with the previous lesson. I clean up any gaps, because what you don't see in the course is like a lot of times I will stop in the middle of a lesson and just think like, okay, what's the next step? Like what is the next thing I should, you know, expose the students to or bring to the students' attention. And so like there will be like a 5-minute dead space in the video. So I got to go in and edit that out. And then, you know, sometimes I make a minor mistake and I'll make a mistake and then oops, delete the last 30 seconds of work and then re-record that in the raw footage. And then I have to catch that in editing and make sure to splice that section out or cut that section out. And so then I have to render the video, and I have to do this like 100 times, right? Like if there's 80 to 100 videos in the course, like I just have to do that almost or up to 100 times. And it's just, you know, it's just one of those things that's really, really tedious and not super fun to do. So yeah. Emperor Penguin, hello, welcome back. Okay. We're just gonna move on. I want to fix that fade, but I kind of don't want to work on that screen some more. Multiple keyword prefixes cannot be chained. This is one thing that was bothering me for sure. Fixed trend, so patrol flags need work. This bug I do want to fix, I think. Oh, we did need to update the vampire fangs. Let's do that one while we're working on artifacts. Vampire fangs, let's see. I guess I'll look at here. Vampire fangs. Gain 25% lifesteal, but take 2 damage every turn during combat. So this is not every turn. Let's do every 0.0 seconds during combat. Okay, every 0.0 seconds during combat, cool. All right, and then in here, let's see. On turn tick. Do I have like a public override void on combat started? I do, okay. On Oombot started. On combat started. So let's do this. Let's do private int current ticks. Okay, and then we're gonna reset current ticks here when the combat starts. And then on turn tick, we are gonna do current ticks plus plus private const int damage interval is equal to 5. So we're gonna say if current ticks mod damage interval is not equal to 0, we'll just return. Otherwise, we're gonna do this. Health damage. I'm going to move this to the top. Per interval equals 2. Get rid of this. Damage per interval. Okay. And then public override object description parameter. Why is this not auto-completing? Description template parameters. Template parameters. And this is just going to be the description utils dot magnitude to seconds damage interval. Okay. So that should fix that. So let's build this. I am going to need to rebuild the translations as well. Rebuild the translation there. All right, we'll go into the game. Where I live, the salary is around 400 to 600 USD normally. You think people can make a living as an indie here? Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I'd be set. I'd be set if that was the salary. Unfortunately, that amount of money monthly doesn't even come close to paying the entirety of my mortgage. So, yeah. But yeah, for sure, you can definitely make it. It's a lot easier to make it, obviously, in countries where the cost of living is lower. So yeah. Artifact idea. Every 6th time fire deals damage, deal that damage an additional time. That would be cool. Koromon. I still don't know what that is. Hello, Sonia. Welcome. Do you ever come across bugs and just don't fix them? Almost like the bug that becomes a happy accident of sorts? No. No, I don't. So I'm very kind of particular about fixing bugs. And the reason is even if a bug does something that makes the game more interesting, what I will do is I will fix the bug, but then explicitly support the unintended feature that the bug was introducing, right? Because the problem with bugs is that bugs are sort of definitionally ways in which your program is functioning that were not intended, right? And if a bug creates an unintended, not good outcome, the problem is that it's still creating that in an unintended way, right? So that bug needs to be fixed to be intentional, right? So the code needs to be very intentional about what it's doing. If it ever behaves unpredictably or in a way that you didn't want it to behave, to me, that needs to be fixed. Even if that means just making the system explicitly able to support the kind of thing that the bug was introducing, right? And I don't think it's not usually as simple as, oh, just leave the bug in place, because it might just be because of this, this edge case, this is working, but we don't want features in the game to work based off of edge cases. We want features in the game to work because they were explicitly made to work that way, right? So no, bugs always get fixed. And then if they were doing something to the gameplay that was interesting, then I will explicitly support that, but also fix the bug, if that makes sense. Hello, Alien Archer, welcome. Hello, Tan Talking, welcome, welcome. Koromon is a small monster-like creature from the popular anime Digimon. I see. I have no experience with anime beyond Studio Ghibli whatsoever, so apologies. Would it be best for a beginner to start with 2D and not 3D if the person isn't good at math? No, the math is very similar between 2D and 3D. So I think that, probably true that, yeah, 2D will be a little bit easier, but largely the math is the same. Like having a vector pointing in a direction is the same fundamental concept, whether you're in 2D or 3D, there's just an extra component to it because of the third dimension, right? But I mean, there are some things like quaternions that are a little bit weird that you don't need to deal with in 2D. So yeah, maybe there are some concepts in 3D that just won't be present in 2D that you won't need to worry about. Koromon is a creature catching game like Pokemon, but way more refined with quality of life features. Do you use Trello? No, this is the Kanban plugin for Obsidian. But it's the same idea as Trello, for sure. Thanks for the amazing course. What do you think is the best language in the long run for game dev and Godot, C# or GDScript? I don't know. I think it's in the long run. I mean, I'm sure GDScript will get better and will become more mature. And a lot of the reasons that make C# appealing to me will be present in GDScript as well, eventually in the future. So I don't know, you know, and it depends, of course, of how long they continue supporting C# and all that stuff and like how that goes over time. So it's hard to know in the long run. But I think you could probably just take it on a project by project basis, because the thing about the language is like, it doesn't really, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but like if you're worried about investing too much in one language, like I don't really think that's a thing, because like once you've learned a language and once you've like mastered a language, you've basically learned and mastered them all. The skill is extremely transferable. So it's not like if you go and work with C# for a couple of years and then GDScript becomes really, really good and you're like, oh, well, now I want to use GDScript, but I spent all this time working on C#, so like I have to start at square one. No, that's not going to happen, right? You'll be able to hop over to GDScript, and after just like, you know, a couple of scripts writing some things, you'll be like, oh, I've got the syntax down. I know what to do. I know what is and is not available. And there you go, you know? So I don't think it's worth like thinking about it in terms of like, okay, I have to pick one language and I better make the right choice now, or otherwise I'm going to be in a bad spot in the future. Just choose whatever one is most appealing to you at the moment, make your game in that one, and then you can reevaluate for your next game. You know, you can hop between them. It doesn't have to be so rigid, you know? Do I want to... I might just increase this to 1 second. That feels a little bit too aggressive to me. It's Digimon 2, interesting. That makes sense, thanks, you're welcome. Good morning, Orange Genesis. What if you leave bugs unfixed for speedrun related? I mean, I don't really make speedrun games, so like I don't really think this is the kind of game that's for speedrunning. But yeah, I mean, I think there's something charming about, like, I'm a big fan of like the From Software games, right? So I think there's something really charming about like, you know, boss skips being found and like certain glitches being found, and like, you know, you start falling in the air and then you quit to menu and then you reload and you're spawned somewhere else, and that's like a huge time saver. Like, I think there's something charming about like leaving those kinds of things in place, the kinds of things that like, unless you do a very specific set of actions, it's not going to be a problem. So like in my normal playthrough, I'm like playing Elden Ring and I'm like, wow, this game has like no bugs whatsoever. And then I look at speedrunners and they're just like shooting across the map at 5 million miles per hour. It's like, oh, so that kind of thing. It's like, you know, yeah, there's a bug, but is it worth fixing if the vast majority of players who are playing the game normally are not going to experience it? It's like, maybe not. And also, again, there's something charming about just like leaving that there for the players who want to break it. And then there's like the economic decision too of like, is it really worth spending our time, whether you're a solo developer or a team, is it really worth spending our time to like patch this out when A, people are having fun with it, and B, it's just going to take engineering resources or, you know, artistic resources to fix when we could be doing something else, right? So I'm not saying that every single bug needs to be fixed. So that's not what I was saying. I was saying that bugs that are creating unintended behaviors during like a normal, just playing the game normally, are not things that should be left in the game, right? What were your biggest gripes with GDScript? I started out with Godot and missing interfaces and non-strict type. Yeah, so when I started Godot, obviously there was no GDScript typing. That was a relatively new introduction to the language. But, you know, GDScript still lacks support for interfaces. They have more support for abstract classes now, though I'm not really up to date on how that implementation is going or what that looks like. And I just think, you know, there are certain things that are nice about C#. Like I personally like having all the different data structures built into the language. So like queues and stacks and lists and hash sets, dictionaries, all that stuff. But in GDScript, you basically have two, right? You have two data structures. You've got, I know this isn't technically accurate because you've got like packed byte array and packed string array, whatever. But it ultimately boils down to like, you've basically got two data structures, your array and your dictionary. And you can make like queues and stacks and stuff using those tools, but that just requires you to create like a wrapper class for those things. If you wanted to create a hash set, that would just be a matter of like using a dictionary under the hood, right? But having those implementations built into C# is really useful for me. And then plus all of the hash set, you know, methods like intersection, union, exception, all that stuff. So just little things like that. Having link available is super nice as well for filtering down collections and whatnot. I didn't even test this and make sure this works. What's your advice for someone to start learning Godot or Unity? I mean, I'm always going to recommend Godot. I think Godot is great. Good Godot. This is a Godot fanboy channel. But the caveat there is that I don't have much experience with Unity. So I'm not really the right person to ask. I'm heavily biased in favor of Godot, and I don't know much about Unity. Is this even working? Did I break this? Why is that not working? Let's pause this. Hold on a second. I gotta figure out why this isn't working now. Hmm? Oh, maybe this turn tick is not working the way I think it is. I think this is a mistake. This needs to be the first check. Okay, I think that's right. So this on turn tick happens, it just gets invoked for when either board is going. So before I increment the current ticks, I need to do this check first to make sure that the execution context of the board that is going is the player board. I think that's right. Let's try that. My only issue when it comes to picking between C# and GDScript is only being able to pick between C# and GDScript. Yeah. Every game is for speedrunning. They have Slay the Spire being completed in like 5 minutes. Oh, goodness. Okay, hopefully this one will work now. Okay. That appears to be working. I've seen a streamer speedrunning Gamble with your friends. Rename Cloak to Traveler's Cloak. Artifact idea Spectral Cloak. Same as Cloak, but used to travel to an unconnected node. Oh. That's a good one. I'll have to think about that. There's quite a few tricky bits to that one. How do you think of programming logic when making mechanics and systems? Do you break it down step by step? Yeah, I mean, typically what I do is I just try to get something working with like the narrow requirements that I have, and then as I want to do things, so as I expand what I want to be able to do, for example, with like my ability system, I then look for ways to create abstractions that can handle all of those things. So, you know, you start with a very basic, like just deal direct damage, and then you find out that you want to apply fire instead. And so now you've got to change, you know, the internals of the system to support both cases while still sort of going through like a unified flow. And then you just build up the abstractions gradually over time to handle all the different cases that you have. That's kind of how I approach it. So just get something working first, and then, you know, let the systems be built in accordance with what new requirements you essentially have. So you just kind of like refactor as you go. Okay, multiple keyword prefixes cannot be chained. Do I want to do this one? Multiple keyword prefixes cannot be chained. For example, innate passive is not possible. Probably should do that one. Revisit legendary abilities for balance. Bring up Steam wishlist and Discord button inside Steam app. This one is interesting. But yeah, this is basically the only to-do items that I want to get through. I don't know if I really want to do these though. I kind of want to... There's a whole lot going on here. Oh, I need to do one thing. Okay. Well, I think let's do something fun instead. These are all like, I mean, they're tiny, they're easy to do kind of, but I just don't feel like doing this stuff right now. I'll do this afternoon. A lot of it is just language changes. Passive projection. Anyway, we could do this fire artifact idea. Every time every X time fire deals damage, double it. So let's do that one. Artifact. Okay, I need like an artifact creation tool, but that's right. I don't really want to work on that now either. So I have a card creation tool, which allows me to like set up all the boilerplate for, you know, creating new cards, new items. I don't have a similar tool for artifacts, so I still need to set up all the boilerplate stuff myself, but it's not too cumbersome. It's just, I guess it would be nice to streamline that a little bit. But yeah, anyway. I've seen that shader fade effect for a few different games, unless that's your own. It's kind of my own. I didn't take it from anywhere, but I'm sure it's an idea that has been done before. At the highest level of programming skills you are at right now, do you learn everything from reading Godot docs? Do I learn everything from reading Godot docs? I would say I read the only time I need to read the Godot docs is like when I'm using something that I don't typically use. So like back buffer copy is an instance of one. What else was I looking at? I was looking at the rich text label docs the other day. Or yesterday actually, but no, I don't spend a whole lot of time looking at the Godot docs. It's just because I've been using Godot for so long that I know generally all the properties that are available to me and all the methods that are available to me and like which node types to use. But it's also the case, like, you know, I think it's one of those situations where like you don't use 80% of the nodes that are available to you. Like when you look at the nodes that are available, and I have the 3D nodes hidden. So I'm not using any 3D nodes, and I'm not using like any of these kinds of things. I'm not using any physics bodies, no animated sprites, no audio. I've never even used the audio listener. Bone 2D is something. So like, you know, it's one of those things where like I use a very narrow set of the nodes that are available via Godot. Like I've never used navigation link 2D, never used parallax layer. So yeah, it's, you know, it's not like I have an encyclopedic knowledge of everything. It's just that I'm very familiar with the you know, the tiny, relatively tiny amount of nodes that I do use. So, artifact idea for fire effect, almost broken lighter. A lighter you have to flick a few times before it finally works. Oh, that's an interesting one. That's an interesting one. Hello, Firebelly. I'm a developer. What is your recommendation for your course on Udemy? If you're already familiar with programming, you could do whichever course you want. Whatever one is catches your interest the most. They're all like intermediate level courses, but they all cover different styles of games. So yeah, it's up to you. Whatever one looks most appealing. Okay, tell you what, I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break, and then we'll create this artifact that Ninja Link suggested, and then also, I mean, it would be kind of fun to do your idea, Wooius. Like having an artifact where it's just kind of like got a gimmick where you have to click it to activate it. I don't know if that would be annoying, but it's kind of a fun idea. Anyway, I'll be right back in 3 minutes, and we'll go ahead and create this new artifact. All right, I'm back. I actually didn't mean that the player has to click the artifact literally, but now that you mention it, I find it funny. Oh, interesting. So what did you mean? A lighter you have to flick a few times before it finally works. Like what is the flick action? Artifact idea. At the beginning of combat, pay X blood to project echo to X allied items. Yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool. Consume X blood and project echo to... Would it be, so if it's a projection, it just would fire once? Or are you thinking the projection would be added to the card for the duration of that combat encounter? How about Pet Rock? Makes the game more difficult and is completely useless, but you get an achievement if you finish the game with it. Yeah, the idea of an artifact that changes the difficulty is good. The problem is I wouldn't necessarily be able to change the enemy difficulty directly. I mean, maybe I could. It's kind of like the demon bell from Sekiro, right? Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Payment would be forced and automatic, take with caution. You should also have to feed it regularly. Ninja Link definitely plays Magic the Gathering. Either way works. I figured a one-time thing wouldn't be too powerful with stacking. Yeah. Okay. I do like the idea of having an artifact that consumes blood every time combat starts, because then it's like, yeah, you're gonna be making your blood more scarce for sure. Maybe Pet Rock is an item you have to move onto your board and can't remove. Oh yeah. The idea of an immovable. See, that's the thing. No, it's like, how do I do that? Like, how do you? I guess what I could do is it could be like there could be an artifact that you get such that when you acquire it, it finds the first empty spot on your combat or inventory board and just places a 1x1 permanent item there. That would be kind of cool. I don't know if I would make it like Pet Rock themed, because that's not quite in keeping with the theme of the game. But having some kind of like immovable object that just gets placed on your board for you that you have to build around, but then give it some kind of additional power. That's an interesting idea. Artifact that places an immovable item on a random free space, your combat board or inventory, which now the problem is you wouldn't be able to alchemize it at all either. So it would be kind of negative, so it would need to have some kind of like offset to the fact that you can't do anything with it. I thought flick is the action one makes to ignite a lighter. I try to paint the mental image of a lighter that doesn't work too well to sell the idea, not as a gameplay suggestion. Oh, I see. So it's just like thematically just kind of like a finicky thing. That makes sense. All right, we need to do this fire artifact here. Every time X fire deals damage, every X time fire deals damage, double it. So now the question is, what does this look like when it stacks? Does it double and then double again as an exponential, or does it just add together the doubling of the... Yeah, I don't know, actually. Well, the good news is we can handle that all within the fire status, but let's come up with a theme for this first. So we've got the coals. I'm thinking like something tar or oil based. Tar or oil or something like that. I did play Magic for many years. You move it, but it has to stay on the board. I like it. Yeah. Adding pets to the game, scope creep. Pet evil skull. Actually, pets to the game. I always liked when you get like little cosmetic pets. Like it would be kind of fun to just maybe have like a little unlockable thing that you could just like have, and it just kind of like floats around like maybe your health or whatever, or maybe it floats around your combat board or something, or maybe it just floats around your character like on the overworld map. That'd be kind of fun. But yeah, that scope creep, that's definitely not like, that's just a purely fun idea that will have no gameplay purposes whatsoever, unless I gave pets for gameplay purposes. But yeah, that's scope creep. We're not going to do that. But I always like the idea of like, you know, I think Torchlight did this really well. Torchlight is one of my favorite action RPGs. And the pet, like, in addition to dealing damage and whatnot, was interesting because you could equip it with spells and it would cast spells for you, and you could like load it up with your inventory that you wanted to sell and send it back to town, and it would leave you for like 2 or 3 minutes, and it would come back with all the gold, and like you could replenish your mana potions and your health potions by just telling the pet to buy some. I thought that that was really, because like a lot of games they have pets and they're either like purely cosmetic or they just do something like collect gold for you. But the Torchlight pet system felt like really, like a really meaningful part of the game actually, which was a lot of fun. Heading out for Discord golf. Have a great one. All right, sounds good. Thanks for joining, Ninja Link. Always good to see you, and have a great weekend. Maybe the real scope creep is the pets we adopted along the way. Yeah. Put Brillbone's moth behind a paywall. Yeah, $20 to unlock this little 4x4 pixel sprite. I liked that in Torchlight too. Yeah, Torchlight is awesome. All right. Anyway, I don't know how effectively I can draw like tar or something. Because the problem here is that tar is obviously like black, but if I do black, I'm not going to be able to see it, you know? I almost feel like the best I can do is something like this, and then I don't know, just have like a, I'm just doodling, and this is not going to be the final art, I don't think, but you know, just have something like some kind of pot or something that it sits in. Kind of like this. Okay, get rid of the... So it's kind of like this like bubbling tar, you know what I mean? The problem is it's not like super visible, so I don't know how this is gonna go. But we can give it a shot. So we've got like, yeah, we've got like this bubbling tar here. It's just not super, it's not super visible. But I don't know what to do about that because it's tar. It's supposed to be freaking black, you know? Like what am I supposed to do about this? I mean, that didn't turn out that bad though. I love to see how your art is elevating. Thank you. The groovy dance, the gravy dance. Welcome to the stream. Good to see you. Props to you giving each idea honest thought. If I imagine people talking ideas all the time, I would feel so backseated, even if the ideas are genuinely helpful. Yeah, I think, you know, I mean, it's certainly helpful. Like I'm not an infinite repository of ideas. You know, I certainly have ideas that I want, and there are certainly ideas that are suggested where I'm like, well, I don't know if that quite fits the game. But, you know, I think it's fun to like implement people's ideas. It certainly takes a lot of the effort off of me because then like it's not totally on me to come up with every single idea for every single item. And plus, I think, you know, it's like, I don't know, it's just more fun to have a game where people actually contributed to it. I think it's more engaging. Like, I have to imagine it's like, I've never had this experience, but I have to imagine it's pretty fun to like have a Steam game get launched, which includes like a couple of your ideas in it. I think it's fun. I think it's a good little fun thing to do. All right, I think we can probably work with that. I mean, I think it's fine. Export that. Let's do tar. Artifact resource. Tar, we'll copy this. Paste as unique. Bubbling tar. Every zero time fire deals damage. Every 0 time fire damage is dealt. Double the fire damage applied. All right. So now we can go into, we'll just copy, let me think. This may be another one where I just, instead of trying to make the artifact super fancy, I may just do it from in here directly. So it'll be somewhat similar to Cole's. Copy this, create new file, tar. This becomes tar. Okay, so this would be the execution interval is, we'll just start it off at 5. This is just the execution interval. Maybe I shouldn't use the word interval. Oops. Execution count. Okay. So now the fire status. Let's do private int damage executions. Yeah, this will work. I'm just going to create a private method here. Okay, so I'm going to increment the damage executions here. For var I equals 0, I is less than artifact manager. Actually, what I should do here, let me build, oh, not play. No, don't play. I just wanted to build it. So we build, and then we need to do ID constants generator. That should create artifact ID. It should put that in the constructor there. Okay. So now I should be able to do artifact manager dot get artifact count by ID, artifact ID dot tar, and then we do I++. Alrighty then. Maybe I'll just put the multiplier up here, public const float multiplier. Additional damage plus equals base damage times tar dot multiplier. Let's do mathf dot round to int, or we'll do floor to int, I guess. I think I'm using floor to int everywhere, so we'll just do floor to int. And this needs to be if damage executions mod tar dot execution count is equal to 0. That we do that. So additional damage is plus equal to base damage times tar multiplier. And then we return the additional damage. And then in here, we can do modify damage. Damage amount. Okay, so the way that this is going to work is if you've stacked multiple tars, it's just going to double the base damage and add them together rather than doubling it every time. At least I hope that's the way it's going to work. We will see. But let's build the translations. Oops. No constructor found for artifact ID tar. Huh? Oh, I forgot to build the game, right? Build the game. Then build the translations. We should see that translation file. Every 0 times fire damage is dealt, double the fire damage applied. Cool. So now we'll go in, we'll add the tar artifact here. Add artifact tar. Bubbling tar. Every 5 times fire damage is dealt, double the fire damage applied. So we'll just get some fire applications going, and we'll go ahead and fight this guy. Hey, pretty boy, your game is going good. Well, thank you, Goblin Slayer. Appreciate that. I've been working as a software developer for 10 years. Boring back-end integrations, no passion. Just installed Godot, and I hope I can learn to make games. So I feel happy when I'm creative. Yeah, I'm the same way. That's how I just came across your stream. Interesting to see you use Visual Studio Code. I'm not familiar with Godot yet. I just installed it, but I assume you opened the Godot scripts tree in Visual Studio Code. Yeah, so Godot has two supported languages by default, GDScript and C#. I'm using C#. Godot does not have a built-in like C# integration into the editor. So you can write C# scripts for Godot, but you need to use an external IDE to like compile and get the IntelliSense and all that stuff. So I have to use an IDE because I'm using C#. But if you use GDScript, you can either use an external IDE or you can use the integrated IDE. So it depends on what you're using. But yeah, game development is fun. It's definitely a good creative outlet. I've that's the way I've been doing game development for many years, is just like as a a little side hobby for after my normal job. But I do not have a full-time job at the moment. This is my full-time job, so we're going to release Alchemortis and see how it does, and then if not, I'll go back into the software development world. Obviously, I hope that doesn't happen, because, it does get boring after a while, the software development stuff, because it's just the same thing over and over and over again. It got to the point where it's like very rare where I was ever faced with a challenge that I hadn't done like 100 times before. So at some point it just becomes a solved problem, and then it's just like a rote, like, oh, gotta set up all these cloud services. Oh, this is not doing damage at all. Oh, this needs to be, oh, I did it wrong. Hold on a second. This needs to be base damage plus additional damage. So actually, let's change this to modified damage. And this becomes base damage by default. There we go. If you end up going back to your software development stuff, then what happens to your YouTube channel? I will still keep the YouTube channel. I'll still do game development, I'm sure. But obviously, I won't be able to do 2-hour-long streams in the morning every day. The streams might move to the evening, or I might do them less frequently, or I might stop doing them altogether. But, I had a YouTube channel, and I did some streaming even when I had a job. So I'm sure I'll continue to do some of that. Oh, I forgot to add, oh no, add artifact tar. So let's count this out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, it did 3 damage. Why did it do 3? Oh, because it did the base. Oh, wait. Shoot. Okay, this is a little bit wonky, but that's all right. It's a little bit wonky, but that's all right. add the tar artifact, grab the booster, bam, bam, bam. Go here. Okay, so put this guy, this guy, this guy. All right, let's try this again. So I should see 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 damage. There we go. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that doubled. So there's a little bit of a weird overlap here. So the fire damage increases by 1 naturally every 8 seconds. But this will do every 5 times fire damage is dealt, the fire damage is doubled. So there's a little bit of an overlap there, but I'm pretty confident it's working as expected now. So it just takes whatever damage the fire was going to do and double it. Now let's try it with more tar. Hello Emerson, welcome back to the stream. Good to see you again, as always. Welcome, welcome. Okay. So now I should see 4 instances of 1 damage, and then I should see 4 damage on the 5th execution, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4 damage. Boom. Okay, we're good. So it's working as expected. So this is kind of like, this is an interesting thing. So fire stacks don't expire. They stay permanently. And for every 10 stacks of fire you have, it reduces the interval between damage procs by 1/10 of a second. So if you get to 100 fire stacks, what you'll be doing is you'll be doing fire damage every 1/10 of a second. So basically every turn. And then this works based off of the number of times that fire damage is dealt. So this is actually going to buff your DPS a lot, the more stacks of fire that you have on there. So that's I think that's a really interesting artifact. I like that one. And of course, those numbers can be tweaked and everything, but okay. That artifact is done. Bam. Hello, Hall and Mel's. Welcome. Welcome to the stream. Good to see you. All right, let's figure out why this 2 menu fade out is not working. It's a very inconsistent bug, but we can figure it out. So sometimes when I'm like scrolling through this and I click 2 menu, it doesn't fade out properly. Why is it not fading out properly? Let me try. I'm gonna have to give it an actual test, I think. We'll turn on the training dummy. Let's give the training dummy some massive damage. Just so I die instantly. Okay, let's run the game. Finally made it to a live stream. Welcome, Koten Nuki. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. Welcome to all the new and familiar faces. We are just doing some game dev, that's all. Okay, so I die. Let's just go to end run. Why is that not working sometimes? Instance.canvas group fade out. Oh, wait a minute. I think I know what the problem is. Do I know what the problem is? No, these are instance uniforms. Oh, that's probably not good, actually. Do I know what's canvas group fade out material? Instance uniform progress. I think this is just a hunch that I have. I mean, I think this is correct, but so these are all these materials are configured in this visual utilities here, but these are shared by reference. So that means that for the screen rect, when I go to fade that out, it's just assigning that material to the bind node, which is the screen rect. But since this is being shared by reference, it may be the case that these uniforms are changing. So this is an instance uniform, which means that this progress is going to be specified by the node that it's on. But the screen texture uniform, this would be shared across all references of this shader. And so the problem is if I have multiple versions of this shader in the screen, or even not just in the screen, but like a previous version of that shader was working on something else, it may be the case that this uniform is not correct for some reason, or this is like a stale uniform, stale screen texture value. And so it may be the case that it's just not working, the fade out's not working because it's not referencing the correct screen texture. So I went a little overboard. I was like, oh, instance uniforms, that's great. So instead of duplicating materials, I can just use instance uniforms. But the problem is the compatibility renderer, which I do want to support because some people don't have Vulkan enabled hardware. The compatibility renderer has a very, very small cap as to the number of instance uniforms that you can have active at once. And so I went through all this effort, I switched everything to using instance uniforms, and I found out that my game was just flat out breaking in the compatibility renderer because there were too many instance uniforms. So what may be happening here with these fade out materials is that the instance uniforms are working, like the progress value and stuff, but this uniform may be wrong. But the tricky part is I can't just switch this to being like, oh, we will duplicate the material and just handle it that way, right? Like, we duplicate the material, we create a new material reference, that way its uniforms are properly isolated and everything. The problem is I have this keep progress value, which assumes that there's already a fade material in place. And instead of overriding the progress value, I can just like keep that progress value and start from that point. I don't remember exactly what situations I'm using that in, but basically this relies on a check to see, you know, is the material that I want to switch to already assigned to that node? If so, then we don't need to reassign it. And that allows the progress value to be maintained. The problem is if I use duplicated materials, I have no way of checking, like, or at least currently, if the material assigned to the node is the same, like, shader assigned to, or is the same material assigned to the node already? Could I use the shader though? Let's see. Like, is there another thing I can do? Yeah, there's a shader here. This is a resource. So maybe I can do that actually. Do these all use different shaders? Oh no. So these 3 different outline versions use the same shader, but I think that's okay. So if I did material, why can't I reference the shader here? Oh, right. This is just a normal material. Okay, so I think what I would have to do, check bind node material is shader material, and check shader material dot shader is equal to material dot shader. So I can use the inner actual shader code instead of the material as a check there. And then in visual utilities, what I would probably do is for each of these materials, what I may do is I may create just like a public, not public, private duped fade out material. And I would just do, this would be a shader material. And I would just do a duplicate here. So instead of using the fade out material here, well, let's do so let's do this. So this would be duped. Oh, this is static. Duped canvas group fade out material. Then in my material progress tweener, if bind node dot material is shader material, existing shader material, or bind node dot well, we could do this. Is not existing shader material. Yeah, else if existing shader material dot shader is not equal to material dot shader. Does that work? I don't know. I mean, an easy way to test this would just be to go and die again. It's a little bit wonky, but that's all right. So the fade out still works there. This is not a complete implementation though, because I think I would want to do the same. Oh, I changed the wrong thing. Duped canvas group fade out material, duped fade out material. I would want to do the same for these ones as well. Let's give it another shot. It's Mel's from YouTube. I just discovered your Twitch. Yeah, I gotcha. Welcome, welcome. How much time did it take you right from starting Godot to create anything that you can think of? That's a good question. Well, I started using Godot in 2017, so that was a long time ago. But I already had experience with Game Maker, so I kind of already knew what I was doing from a like building games kind of standpoint. Is that working? I think it's working. I don't know. We'll just try that. So I already knew what I was doing from like a game building standpoint. It was just a matter of learning Godot. I would say it probably took several months of working with Godot regularly to get comfortable with building things, but I don't think it took that long to just get like something working in Godot, like, you know, a little character moving around. I don't think it took that long. You know, it's just the part that takes a while is just like learning the ins and outs of the engine and like what is the best way to structure your scenes and like do input handling and all that stuff. But all that stuff comes with experience, so I don't think it takes that long. It's just, you know, it's a continual learning process that happens over months and years. It's time for game dev once again. Yes, indeed, Jackie Daytona. All right, well, we're coming up on the end of the stream. I need to do some more thorough testing on this, but I think that's the approach that I'll take to fix that. But yeah, that'll be it for the stream today. So thank you all for watching. Thank you for being here. Very much appreciate your support. You can wishlist this game, Alchemortis, on Steam if you're interested. Hello, Pasta La Vista. I'm sorry, I'm just hopping off the stream now, but anyway, I appreciate all your support. Check the links in the description if you're interested in supporting the game and my development a little bit more. There's the Patreon down there. You can join the Discord. You can check out my Udemy courses, all those things. But yeah, it was great hanging out with you. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll be back at it either tomorrow. I might be free tomorrow morning. If not, I'll be back Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Hope to see you there. Have a great weekend, and bye-bye for now.